Hey everyone, my name is Praying for Exits. I run a venture capital fund here in California, and I also run Exits Media, which is a company that is focused on kind of pulling the curtain back on venture capital and early stage technology. Today, we're diving into the top 6 themes that I think will play out across the venture capital landscape and early stage technology. So stay tuned to the end to make sure you can take advantage of all of them. So the baseline of what always had me inspired about technology and early stage tech was the fact that young people were solving incredibly hard problems that really change the world. I think that is kind of been the overarching theme for why I found technology and early stage technology specifically so interesting for so long. Is you have a bunch of really hungry 20 and 30-year-olds kind of going up against these massive industries and trying to make big changes. Some of the emerging sectors that I'm really excited about for 2024 that we didn't really see as much of in 2023, I think would be things like biotech, artificial intelligence, space and space exploration, manufacturing, energy, and defense. These are all massive markets and traditionally weren't really looked at in the technology industry. If you go back for the last 10 years, most venture capitalists and technologists didn't really spend much time here, specifically because these are very hard things to change and they cost a lot of money to build companies in these spaces. So typically venture capital has always been about software, but increasingly I think we're going to be moving into hard tech and hardware moving forward. And so these are some of the emerging spaces that I think could really see a lot of increased interest and a lot more money being put into them over time. So examples of some of the things that I'm talking about is like what SpaceX is doing with Starlink and how these low orbit satellite constellations will probably change the way that we communicate and connect to the world. You have companies like Hadrian who are building automated factories to help onshore American manufacturing back into this country and away from places like China. And then I think that you have like what one of my friends, Patrick Su, is doing with Arc Institute, which is really pushing the boundaries on biotech research and coming to market with like really important therapeutics that'll change the way that we sort of heal ourselves. These are some just practical examples of some of the ideas that I just discussed. I think that a lot of investing, especially over the last, call it 3 to 4 years, was focused elsewhere. People were trying to find the Uber of Africa or the Airbnb of South America. This sort of idea of finding these companies that are building analogs to American companies in other large markets is still one that is sustainable, but I think less interesting than it used to be. I think that you'll find that a lot more investors will be focusing domestically on their investments and the types of companies that they are focused on. And I think that you're seeing as a general trend within a lot of these investment firms that they are trying to just find the best American companies. There's a lot of variables that you can't control in other countries in the same way that you can kind of at least expect what's happening in America. And so, for instance, there's a ton of countries, Argentina is a great example, where, drastic shifts in political powers kind of changes the outcome of what your investments could be. And so I think that increasingly there's a ton of new sort of horizon themes that people are pursuing. And I think that there's more than enough places to put your money in America. Therefore, I think that a lot of these venture capital funds will be primarily focused on building really big, long-standing businesses domestically versus trying to find them in other countries. Another trend that I think you're going to see is a lot more bold ideas. I think that a lot of people typically have been pursuing kind of like one-dimensional ideas in the past in Silicon Valley, which is let's make a software that increases efficiency across one specific metric, X%. And that's the company that we're going to build. And we're either going to make click-through rates on checkout slightly more efficient. We're going to make conversions on sales pipelines a little bit more efficient. These were the typical investments in Silicon Valley's past that you would find people putting a lot of money into. But now I think that people are embracing sort of bolder, more crazy ideas. I know a company that is using basically a large slingshot to throw satellites into space. There's another company founded by one of my friends named Augustus Dorico, which is basically trying to modulate the weather and make it rain whenever we want, wherever we want. I have another friend who's working on a company that synthesizes usable natural gas and fuel out of thin air by basically using hydrocarbons. And so I think that there's now the opportunity to really go after these large markets, like I discussed before, like energy or biotech or artificial intelligence in kind of like a very bold way. And I think that you'll start to see increasingly people funding bolder ideas because it really does give you sort of like the chance at the outcome you want, which is most venture capitalists are looking for these massive home runs. You're not looking for something that goes up maybe 2x, 5x, 10x. You're really looking for the thing that goes up 1,000x. And to kind of hit that rule or number, you kind of have to go after these crazy bold ideas. And so we actually talked to Augustus Dorico from Rainmaker about his idea to modulate the weather and make it rain and stop hurricanes and all of these really interesting things. You can check it out right here, and we're going to be continuing to interview these kinds of bold, crazy founders moving forward, so be on the lookout for that. For most people who are young, the thing that will probably change your life the most in the most tangible way will be artificial intelligence. And that's because basically artificial intelligence is a sum of all human knowledge. And not only that, it's proactive in being able to suggest things off the basis of that human knowledge. So imagine you had all of the world's data at your fingertips and you could be the most efficient with it. Instead of having to figure out what you want to Google, everything that you've ever wanted to know could be proactively served to you in an interesting way. And so with these massive sets of data that artificial intelligence is now able to basically parse, you will be seeing the opportunity to change a lot of the world around you off the basis of that. And the people who really figure this out, in my opinion, are probably going to be very highly rewarded. And if you're not one of these people that are sort of building in this space, at the very least, your life will get increasingly better by having this technology at your fingertips that you can use as well. These are some of the themes that I think are going to be really important into 2024. Over the course of the year, I think you're increasingly going to see some of these things play out. And it's a great way to kind of like framework how you want to spend your time and the things that you should be looking at if you're interested in this space, to make sure that you're not falling behind. If you're interested in this, you should definitely go and do your own research and sort of draw your own conclusions. This is just what I've noticed from where I sit, running a venture capital fund, working with early stage companies quite frequently. But I could very well be wrong. And so I would highly recommend and encourage you to go and use some resources to figure out how you feel about the world as well. If you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe. And as always, drop us some suggestions in the comments of things that you would like to see us talk about so we can hopefully help guide your journey into early stage technology and venture capital a little bit better.